Welcome back to another episode of It's Always Sunny in Texas, where today, we're going back to the Coen brothers. I think it's been a while since we talked about a film of theirs. Was the last one we did Fargo?
I think Fargo's the only one we've talked about before.
No, we did Burn After Reading as well, but that was like way
Right.
early on.
That was like our first year. Yeah.
So
That was early,
it's
early on.
been quite a while, but here we are. My name is Lukia.
I'm Red.
My name is Patty, and since this is Texas, that means we can hold them, right?
I mean, you
Hilarious.
can if you want.
Ha 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 ha.
No, it's a poker joke.
It's a Beyonce, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Wait. That's a poker joke.
Texas Hold'em is a game, a physical game that you play.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
Yes. That's like the standard
No.
game of poker. That's like
I thought it was.
standard
I thought it
game
was
of
just poker. I thought poker was just poker.
It
No,
goes
there's a
by
couple
that name
types of
too.
poker. Yeah, the main style of poker that people play is called Texas Hold'em. There are a few
Huh.
others. There's Omaha, is 5 card draw. There's like a Texas Hold'em is like the standard version, but there's like a couple others. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I was just making a Beyonce joke, but okay.
And Beyonce was making a poker joke. Yeah.
All right. Before we get started, do we have any news to go over?
There's a couple deaths that I think we should shine some light on because they're pretty significant. So the first major person of note to pass away was Robert Duvall. He is a legendary actor. We've talked about him on the show before with his role of Tom in the Godfather movies. And yeah, he's just like a tour de force in acting. Honestly, I think he's like one of the best actors out there. Many people like praise him as being like the kind of guy who like he always made sure to like support his other actors, but he himself was like also incredibly magnetic. Yeah, he played Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird. He was in Bullet, True Grit, the original MASH movie, THX 1138, The Godfather, Apocalypse Now. Just so many movies. He directed his own films too, The Apostle, which I've heard is good, though I haven't seen it myself. Also Lonesome Dove. I think some people have like dubbed him the American Laurence Olivier. He is so yeah, probably one of the most legendary actors out there, up there with like Brando. Rest in peace, Robert Duvall. Jesse Jackson also passed away. This is not an actor, but I just figured it was like he was significant enough to worth mentioning. Jesse Jackson is one of the like original civil rights activists, like of that original class you all are familiar with. He was a protege of Martin Luther King. Yeah, so he was just a very significant civil rights leader, and then I figured we should pay our respects. Yeah, he's basically like the most significant like civil rights leader that like following the deaths of that occurred in the 60s and 70s. I'm sure some people listening to the show is familiar with him for when he was parodying in South Park. Some also lesser known actors I want to shout out. Frederick Wiseman passed away. He was made a couple like notable documentaries, and shout out Frederick Wiseman. I'm not sure if there's any movies he made that you guys would be familiar with, but impressive filmmaker. I'd recommend maybe checking out one of his films one of these days. Maybe I'll recommend one. And last one I want to mention is Tom Noonan. He starred in a bunch of like those classic sort of 80s movies. He was Kane in RoboCop 2, The Ripper and Last Action Hero. He was Frankenstein's monster in Monster Squad. Oh, and he also played Francis Dolahard, or the main villain, the main antagonist in Manhunter, which is the original Hannibal Lecter movie. He was also Kelso in Heat. Pretty solid character actor. So rest in peace. That's it. That's all I got for you today.
All right. So, No Country for Old Men was directed by the Coen brothers and released on November 9th, 2007 with a budget of $25 million, and it made about $171.6 million. Very big. And this was a adaptation of a novel by Cormac McCarthy. I've never read the novel personally, but Red, you said you have?
Yeah. Remember when I don't know if this happened to you guys in high school, but one semester they let us pick a book of our own choosing to write our book report on. So I looked at my dad's shelf and I saw he had No Country for Old Men, and I hadn't seen the movie at the time. I figured, but I was like, oh, let me read this. So I read the book, then I watched the movie later, and yeah, sort of fell in love with it. And I've reread the book before, and I've rewatched the movie a couple times, so pretty familiar with both of them.
Okay. Just a couple fun facts. So, this being an adaptation, they do take some creative liberties, and try to like add or subtract things from the novel. So when I was researching this, I learned that there was a runaway teenage character who just got
Yeah,
completely removed from the film. What was their story?
it wasn't like too involved, but basically like met a runaway and they actually kind of homage it in the movie a little bit. So I'm sure like one of the last scenes with Llewellyn, we kind of see her kind of getting like hit on, and he's like, I'll know where that picks up. So that's I think meant to sort of homage her sort of character. But yeah, basically he just sort of has like a someone with him, and then she also, tragically dies at that scene. There's some controversy actually recently with that character because following Corbin McCarthy passing, and he passed away not too long ago. It turns out that he had like a lot of his characters, including that one, was based off this actual woman he knew. Yeah, he also had a similar inappropriate relationship, so it kind of cast that subplot in a weird light. So in a weird way, the movie cutting it kind of like helped its legacy in a weird way, because it's definitely a little bit weird going to the book now, and I'm like, huh.
I
Yeah.
believe the
Oh,
book
that's
was
pretty.
also told in mostly through Sheriff Bell's perspective, as opposed to
Yeah.
like Llewellyn being the main character and getting a lot of screen time with Anton. It was primarily with Bell.
Yes. But yeah, outside those two things, I'd say it's like pretty mostly faithful. A lot of it, reading it, it just feels like you're reading a screenplay almost. That's in part because Corbin McCarthy's style is really sparse. So, but also I believe this film was actually originally written as this book was originally written as a screenplay. And then he couldn't sell it, so he turned it into a book, and then it got later adapted, which I think is kind of funny.
Okay.
Full
Um,
circle.
And just a couple things before we get into the meat and potatoes. So, Javier Bardem, who plays Anton Chigurh, was basically the man who was not exactly fit for the job, but also perfectly fit for the job at the same time, because it was his dream to always act in a Coen Brothers film. However, the role of Anton Chigurh, required him to speak English, drive, and be violent. All three of those things he either was not good at or didn't like. And that's why the Coen brothers says, yeah, you'd be a perfect fit. Go ahead. You got the job. Josh Brolin, who plays Llewellyn Moss, had a motorcycle accident just mere days after getting the role. And he thought he wouldn't be able to do it because of his injury, but it turns out very early on in the film, Llewellyn gets an injury in his shoulder, so it just kind of worked out perfectly there. So funny how things can work out in film sometimes.
I guess one more. There's two more things I want to mention adaptation wise. I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
One is so Anton Chigurh in the book, he's significantly more talkative. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of his other books, but like similar to like Blood Meridian with the judge, like he kind of has like a lot of these monologues and whatnot. They cut most of it out for this movie. In a way, it was actually they did it to preserve the integrity of the character, because the thing with like in the book is we're given like no details on Anton Chigurh. It's entirely up to your memory. Here, it's a person. We can see he's a person. We can see he's a Spanish guy. So half the mystery is kind of like gone. When Anton Chigurh, like we're not given any sort of idea. Shakur is like such a vague last name. It's kind of like no one really knows where it's from, that kind of thing. So here they decide to sort of preserve the mystery by just sort of cutting out his dialogue. So you're just not really sure, what's his deal. Another adaptation is at the end of the movie when Carla Jean Moss, Llewellyn's wife, talks to Anton. She has like a much more I guess the reaction you would expect when someone knows they're about to die, where they kind of break down more. But here she's much more exhausted.
Like she
So
just lost everything.
yeah, like she falls apart, and here she's been through so much. Yeah, she just kind of accepts it, I guess.
So, what is No Country for Old Men about? I'll keep this brief. So, a hunter named, or well, he's a welder, but he goes hunting. His name is Llewellyn Moss. He discovers the aftermath of a drug deal gone wrong. Like, there's bodies all over the place, there's a dead dog, but he does find a briefcase full of money. And against his better judgment, he takes the briefcase of money and tries to make a nice, wealthy living for him and his wife, Carla. However, that suitcase of money was tagged with a tracker, which catches the attention of Anton Chigurh. Basically, a psychopath who kills people, and he's tracking down the briefcase of money. So it's up to Llewellyn to like keep Carla safe while also trying to keep himself alive from this crazed maniac and keep whatever left of the money that he has. And then things turn south, but we'll get there. So I want to hear from Patty because you've never seen this film before. So for your first impressions, what did you think?
My history with the Coen brothers, I've only seen a handful of films. I can best summarize my experience with them as I don't get it. So, going into this film with that past experience, and also hearing from you, Lugia, about how you liked this movie until the ending, I was cautious. I'm like, okay, is this the one that's going to win me over? I'm not sure. I actually found myself liking this film a lot more than I thought I would. I think like I was most intrigued by the fact that for most of it, there's no dialogue. The chase between Llewellyn and Sugar is like mostly visual based, and I like just found that very interesting. I thought the movie looked great. I was enjoying it, but in the back of my head, I was thinking, how does this end? All right, where is it gonna pivot for me?
Yeah, when's it
And-
gonna jerk you around?
I'll take fault for that one since I already kind of planted that seed in your mind.
But I mean, given like my experience with Burn After Reading and Fargo, I feel like I kind of could have taken. I feel like maybe it just kind of comes with the territory. So I feel like somewhere along the line I would have been skeptical. But anyway, so we get
Yeah.
to the ending.
Sometimes I wonder if like the reason No Country for Old Men like shocks so many people is because a lot of times it's like the first Coen brother movie they watch or the first
Not
Corman
me.
McCarthy story they've read.
This was
Just
like my
because, like-
third, I think.
Just because like I believe this is like the one that won like them all the Oscars and stuff. When I don't know if their other work did because the Oscars for some reason they really don't like rewarding comedies anymore. So and most of the Coen's other movies were pretty funny. So
The ending. Yeah, that's where that typical I don't get it comes in. It didn't ruin the film for me. I still really liked it, but I don't understand what Tommy Lee Jones' character struggle has to do with the overall chase.
so the way I took it is he's sort of a man out of time. He's just not built for this like kind of violence in the world and stuff. He's again the title No Country for Old Men, I think is referring to him. He's the old man. This is all like beyond him. He doesn't like get it anymore.
It would make
I
sense considering
constantly
he is the main
revisit-
character of the novel. Now that you've mentioned that.
Yeah, I constantly revisit the his ending sort of like dream at the thing because I'm not really fully sure what it means, but there's something about it that just like it's like it compels me. Or like I constantly am just like, man, what does that mean though? I don't know. McCarthy and I think the Coens, they both have like sort of I'd say the Coens they have like a very not like nihilistic view of the world or existentialist view of the world, but like maybe like an absurdist view of the world where like they think there is like maybe some sort of design, but they just don't understand it and they don't think anyone will. And I feel like that's kind of the sort of feeling they like to invoke in their movies, where it feels like there is some sort of meaning, but you are never going to be like fully satisfied with what you can find. So that's just sort of what I take from like Coen's style in general. And Corey McCarthy, I definitely think like he has like a particular like obsession with violence. Blood Meridian similar kind of has like a sort of like a similar character that almost like seems to sort of represent sort of chaos or whatnot. I think this film, what I like about this, and I guess you can probably chalk this up to like the difference in philosophy with the Coens is that scene with Carla Jean Moss is sort of like it almost feels like almost a little bit of repudiation because like practically in this movie you could like almost view Anton Chigurh as like the Grim Reaper. I don't know if you've seen that like second Puss in Boots movie where like the death is like a character, but like I feel like
Yeah.
that I feel like was drawing a bit from No Country for Old Men. But yeah, like you almost get like the idea that Chigurh is like Grim Reaper, but like even Chigurh, he's not like this like immortal god like immune from like the chaos of the world and stuff. It's still like his choice and whatnot. So we've talked about Fargo before, right?
Yeah, we did an episode
Yeah.
on it.
I kind of feel like thematically it kind of treads similar ground. It's just like instead of a comedy, it's more of a horror. It's sort of because like if you really think about like Sheriff Bell's like at the end he's just like throwing his hand up. He was like, "What the fuck?" Burn After Reading is a similar thing. They're just throwing their hands up. They're like, "What the fuck?" And the end of Fargo, she's like, all this shit like just for a little bit of money. Like I feel like that's like a running theme in like their thing where like so much chaos and violence in the world it just starts because like some guy wanted some money and then all this shit fell out and what even reaction can you have to that? I feel like that's sort of like a running theme of like the Coen's works in general.
What about you? Did a second viewing change your opinion at all?
Slightly. So when I first saw this, I saw it with a group of friends for a movie night. And we were all very engaged with what we were seeing. Like you, Patty. We thought it looked great, sounded great. A lot of the scenes where Anton is pursuing Llewellyn were really well
The scene of the
done.
hotel was probably my favorite.
The hotel and the streets were really well done. And then we get
Yeah.
to the other hotel where Llewellyn is going to meet with Carla to transfer over the money. And then he just dies in the next scene by like some Mexican robbers, not even Anton. And it was such an anticlimactic moment that it pissed all of us off. And we couldn't give a shit about what happened for the rest of the film because we were so dissatisfied as to the revelation that just happened. Because we were expecting like maybe one more scene where Llewellyn like could overcome Anton, or maybe like even the other way around where Anton gets the upper hand. Anton wasn't even fucking involved. It was just random people who just barged into the hotel and just killed him. We don't even see it happen. We just see the aftermath. But that was then, this is now. And knowing that on this second viewing, it was an easier pill to swallow now that I was expecting it to come. My issue, though, is what happens after that. Because the last 30 minutes of this film just feel like fucking limbo, where almost nothing happens. Like, the story just stops. It doesn't know where to really go from there.
I disagree. I think I mean it's pretty. I mean Anton's still looking.
He's
I feel
still
like
looking
if
for the
if
money, yes, but there's not really much of
well,
a
no,
point
Anton
to him.
doesn't get the money, but like he's like you know, the rest of the movie is more like meditating on like kind of the events that happen, at least like the Sheriff Bell perspective. And with Shigor, I feel like the way it wraps up with him is actually pretty like compelling. Just like again the scene with Carla Jean Moss. If you can tell, one of my favorite scenes in the movie. But also him getting hit by the car and that thing was like I don't know. I feel like it's I kind of like how it sort of like undercuts the sort of image that we have of him. And the sort of anticlimax to me, like the way I sort of took it is because it was like unexpected. I just kind of got kind of like obsessed with it and trying to figure out what it means. And because of that, that's probably why like it kind of I kind of like it so much. He's getting chased by basically the devil, and his undoing is just him making a dumb mistake on the phone call. And I was like, huh, yeah, he got drunk too. That kind of makes sense. But yeah, no, I definitely get why like people get mad because like ultimately like for the first like 2/3 of the movie, it's like a perfect thriller. There's no score, which I think is really great. I thought that was really compelling, and again, like us seeing all like the meat and potatoes of how like Llewellyn like outsmarts him and stuff. Yeah, so I definitely get why like after all that stuff, it doesn't become like Heat, where like it's like ultimately like this kind of showdown between two people. Because I feel like that's what like most people wanted. They wanted Heat.
There's definitely artistic merit to the decision of stripping away like what you'd expect the movie to become, where it turns into something else. Like I understand the idea behind that. I'm not gonna knock that. I'm just saying like what we do have though just feels very lackluster. Like it is supposed to be meditative, yes, but it's also like we don't really have anything to look forward to anymore. Cause what else could really happen after Llewellyn dies? Anton gets the money, okay, sure. We just see characters basically losing everything. And I guess maybe there is some appeal to that. It just didn't really work for me. It just felt like things were going nowhere after that point.
Okay. There's still some more like thoughts I want to say. So like so No Country for Old Men is like basically like a neo western, and obviously the theme is meant to sort of capture, you know, country transition, and that's sort of what the title's like meant to evoke. And I feel like part of what it wants to do is like I don't know if I want to say deconstructs the western, but I definitely think it wants to like sort of it is trying to analyze kind of the nature of good and evil, because it has very like prototypical kind of the three central characters are very like sort of prototypical if you think about it, in terms of like, you know, good bad ugly guy in between, you know, good bad, you know, ugly, which is, you know, guy in between, that sort of thing. So I guess like Tommy Lee Jones, he's like meant to sort of represent like the old values. His arc is probably the hardest to sort of grasp, but like the way I see it is just like it's constantly him trying to catch up to everything, and he just isn't able to. And in the end, he understands nothing, so he just turns back on everything, accepts it, and just sort of becomes stagnant. I don't know if like this is like a good comparison, but it reminds me of sort of the Godfather 3's ending, where like he doesn't like die at the end, but like kind of spiritually he does.
Depends on the cut, but yeah.
I meant like the original Godfather 3 cut. I know like the Redux or whatever has him like dying on his chair, but I don't know, it's stupid.
No,
I guess
no,
you can say
it's the
Godfather
other way
2 also.
around. It's the other way around.
Well, and then Godfather 2. I mean, Godfather 2 is like basically the same thing. But the juxtaposes Shigor, who is like he's basically an unstoppable force, or he is for the most of it. We're not given any like clue into his consciousness. He's just like laser focused on this like one goal, and like he's trying to bring sort of karmic justice. Although his karmic justice is completely random, with the coin toss and whatnot. He's not like the angel of death. He's not like pure evil, but he does seem to embody fate. Because that's what I sort of think. Like, I'm not sure if what the term is. Maybe it's fatalistic, but like I think the Coens and McCarthy, they're very much obsessed with fate. Yeah, okay, it is fatalism. Yeah, they're very much obsessed with sort of fate and whatnot, and their contentions around that. I guess in a way you can think he represents like the inevitability of change. Like broadly speaking, that's what he kind of does. And then like you got Llewellyn, where he's like the everyman, not the everyman, but he's like the average sort of Joe. Well, not, but he's not good or bad. He's like in between. He's like not in. If you want to view like the other two characters as like a dichotomy, he's like in the middle, and he's pretty much at the whim to the universe. He doesn't ultimately he doesn't have control over what's going on. I feel like that's kind of like one of the big points in the movie. He was dead the second he decided to take the money. That was like what I took from the movie. The Sopranos. So that show doesn't like explicitly show he's dead, but it does ultimately like the ending of that show. We're not giving any answers to the ending of that show, which also pisses people off in a similar way to how it pisses off people here. But I took a similar meaning from it, where like Tony's fate is sealed, regardless of what, because he went down this path. He's gonna have to spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder. And that's a similar sort of thing I got here. As much as like he seems to almost like outsmart death, I feel like there is still this kind of feeling of dread that's there with him, where like he's ultimately kind of helpless to the bigger schemes. I mean, he's only aware Shigor. He's not aware of like these other factors, because there's a Woody Harrelson character, and Shigor's doing it for this gang, and then he's on the phone, and these other criminals hear about it, and so ultimately it just seems like there's like all this like chaos. Sheriff Bell, he can't really grasp it, and Llewellyn couldn't grasp it, and that's why he kind of died. I guess the ironic part is like he almost gets away with it, and it goes wrong because he's trying to perform an act of kindness. Because if he didn't go back to give the guy the water, like he probably would have just gotten away with it. But
Well, there would have been a tracker in the briefcase.
right, yeah. Well, even then, like him doing the water, that's like the whole thing that kind of like kicks off everything. But I do wonder if you guys would like the bookmark, because like it does have like the events are still the same, but it's not like it's a little maybe less knee jerky. I don't know here, because like I think here maybe with like the nature of film, the fact it happens off screen, it hits a bit harder than it would in a book, maybe.
No, it's supposed to be a parallel to when Llewellyn like found the money in the first place. He just witnessed the aftermath of an event.
Llewellyn's death, but I think it also fits better in the book, because like Llewellyn's death there, it kind of like it definitely reads more of like as like a beat for Tommy Lee Jones' character Sheriff Bell, because like he sort of comes to epiphany that he has to accept that his place in life is not what he intended it to be. Because I feel like the ending of the film is like almost him just sort of accepting that he's done enough, and he can just like leave the protecting the world to younger men. I feel like to him he's like taking that like understanding the world is less important than understanding yourself, or at least that's the realization he comes to himself. And yeah, and I almost feel like I guess just a running theme of the Coens is just like just trying to understand like the events and stuff. They almost try to repudiate that stuff. Or like the idea of understanding. Which is annoying when it comes to like movies, I guess, as narrative fiction. But I don't know, I find it compelling. I think I've said before they're probably my favorite filmmakers. And yeah, I guess it's just because like of the type of filmmaker I am. I'm the type of person where like if you knee jerk me like that, I'm just gonna think about it for like way too long, and then I'm just gonna be like, all right, all right.
Other than
Um,
Fargo, are any of their other movies also about like a briefcase full of money?
Not really, but I would say like Blood Simple has like a similar vibe to this. You guys might like that one the most, because I feel like of those, that one has like the most traditional sort of satisfying climax. But there's a similar sense of like chaos in there. That's the first movie ever. Raising Arizona is pretty chaotic. It's a similar thing of like a bunch of people trying to like steal things. That's not like they're trying to take a baby, not a case of money there. And that movie has a much more satisfying, happy ending. Raising Arizona is probably like their most like positive fucking movie. That's probably the most movie that I think like most regular people would probably enjoy. The last act of No Country for Old Men, I think every scene in the last act is good, but I get why it just doesn't feel like it really comes together.
It's a stark contrast compared to what we saw before. Like, there's no like easy transition to the rest of the film like that. It just happens like immediately after you find out Llewellyn dies.
It's like the chase is done, so where do we go from here?
It just stops. It's done. It's over. Go home.
Yeah, but
Emily Jones realizes he's getting too old for this shit. We're done.
Anton gets in a car accident. You know, that car accident scene though, when thinking back to this film and that scene in particular, I thought this is like totally like off topic, but you know how in Whiplash when Miles's character like gets into a car accident, we see the car like come like from his driver's window, so like we kind of like somewhat anticipate it for a split second. In this film though, it actually comes from the other side, but we get the same angle as we do like in Whiplash, but we just don't see it coming, so it's like more sudden.
Given the angle, I was kind of expecting there to be a car crash. It still caught me off guard though.
Yeah, because you didn't see it.
But I'm like, it's too quiet. Something's
Again,
gonna happen.
the cinematography and presentation of this movie is fucking phenomenal. Like, that's probably like the strongest highlight for me, like when it comes to No Country for Old Men. Well, also Anton Chigurh.
Oh my god, this bastard. Like, okay. So he's wounded from getting shot by Llewellyn. So instead of just buying the medical equipment he needs or something like that, he blows up a car outside of a drugstore, so everybody will be too distracted by the random explosion to notice him stealing the medication.
As he's walking
What a
in.
fucking bastard.
And his means of weaponry too is like so absurd, like a fucking oxygen tank. Like, it's so bizarre, but you know what? You see him use it on that one guy after escaping from the police station. It's like, oh, you don't fuck around with this guy.
Yeah, so there's actually some meaning to that. So do you want to know what that device actually is?
What?
It's what they use to kill cows.
Right, there's that whole Tommy Lee Jones character explains that at one point.
Yeah. But really think about what that means. He just sees people as cattle. Like, I feel like that's what you're trying to say. He just sees people as cattle. There's no weight to him to any of this stuff. It just feels like, you know, he's just like, he's a butcher. These are just livestock to him.
He also has like an ideal person in mind of what people should be, and when they betray that, he kind of gets irritated by it. Like when he was talking to the convenience store clerk, and the clerk was like, well, I've inherited this land from my wife's parents, and like Anton's like disgusted by it, so he's like, all right, we're gonna play a game, call it heads or tails, and if you get it wrong, you're gonna die. He doesn't say that, but I'm pretty sure we can imply that.
A lot of Coen brothers actually kind of have that, because like I feel like Barton Fink, definitely A Serious Man. A Serious Man is definitely one of those movies where like you are gonna love it, and then at the end you're gonna look at me and be like, what the fuck does that mean?
Again, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, there's also Inside Llewyn Davis. That's like a similar unsatisfying ending, but that one's actually like it doesn't like it's not a surprise that one's like that one makes more. I feel like it was gonna land, but yeah, this is like their whole thing, really. Now think about it, because like you're asking me if there's other movies like this. Yeah, man, all of them, except Raising Arizona and like Hudsucker Proxy and Oh Brother We're Out There. Those are like their most normal movies. Maybe Intolerable Cruelty, but like everything else, they kind of jerk you around a lot. Most of their movies will make you wonder what the fuck any of that meant. Big Lebowski too, although that movie is like such a light comedy, it's kind of funny when they do it, so if you don't mind there. If you also like this, I'd recommend you guys check out the Fargo TV show. That one I feel like is sort of trying to hit the in-between of this and obviously the Fargo movie. Endings are probably going to be a bit more satisfying for you guys, but it hits a similar sort of thematic beat. I wouldn't say they're as good. I feel like it tries way harder to be intentionally quirky, but it's pretty good. Each season has its own story. Straight up, like I would actually like kind of recommend skipping season 4 because it's not that good, but like it's okay that season 4 isn't good because like season 5 is apparently I haven't seen it, but
is that everything?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I guess ultimately it's the story of a man who made a mistake.
Also, I just want to point out one thing about Anton. When he's driving, you know the rule of the steering wheel, he put your hands on 10 and 2. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
He puts it on 11 and 1. What a fucking psycho. All right, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. What did you guys think of the Carla Jean scene? Actually, that's what I was wondering, because I mentioned that scene I liked a lot, but I wonder
The one where she sees Anton.
Yeah, that and ultimately just how like they kind of wrap up Anton's thing, because that to me was like it's not satisfying, but I definitely say like
I like how she sort of challenges Anton's ideology of like we leave it to the coin and like it decides what we do from there, and she's like, no, I want to hear the answer from you, not the coin. I don't give a fuck about the coin.
I just realized
Could also tie into how like this is all being done for money. The coin's also money, and he's going after the bag. Like money is responsible for everything that's going on.
Donald, I just realized like right now.
What?
I feel like all the 3 characters, all of their arcs they basically all have like an extra scene, and that's what fucks it up. Because if you really think, because like if Llewellyn, you could probably theoretically end the movie before Llewellyn died, and you just get the idea that like Llewellyn got away with it, because that's essentially what it is. He got away with it, and then he made this one fuck up, and it got him killed. Basically, like his story just went on for like one extra scene, and we see like this to go on. Anton's thing, theoretically, like if you just end the movie with the Carla Jean thing, that's like ultimately a complete wrap up to his thing. But because they have this extra scene with him getting hit by the car, and we're just like, and we're just not giving any closure there. And Sheriff Bell, Llewellyn's death thing, that's ultimately kind of like wraps up everything. But then we're given this like extra scene at the end where he's given the speech, and like that's just kind of left unsatisfying. I feel like that's kind of what the movie does. Where it's like it's just like one scene that just kind of fucks with you.
This movie is the embodiment of, but wait, there's more.
Because like I remember one person telling me that, like, I forgot who said it, but like whether a story has a happy or good ending is, it just depends on where you want to cut it. Like with Ed Wood's story, if you know his full story, it's a tragedy, but the movie, it ends at like this one spot where it feels somewhat triumphant. I mean, obviously it tells you that he dies in a sort of darkly comedic way, but it doesn't like ruin the mood or anything. I wonder if that kind of applies here almost, where like it just keeps going. Even like when the story ends, it doesn't end, and I feel like that's, I don't know. I feel like what this movie almost tries to do is it tries to like tell you a traditional Western story, and then it just hits it with the reality of the situation. Like every single thing just feels like a reckoning thing. Like Sheriff Bell does nothing. There is reckoning there. Anton, he gets this confrontation, then gets hit by a car. He's a victim to fate too. He's not like the bearer of fate. And Llewellyn Moss, he gets away with it, but he makes another mistake, and then he doesn't. Have you guys ever seen Evangelion?
No.
No. I mean, I know of it. I
Oh.
just haven't seen it.
Okay, I'm gonna make a point with all of them. So I feel like the Coens they're kind of similar to Anno, the director of Evangelion, there, where his whole thing is so that story started out as a very traditional mecha monster of the week fighting show, and it was a very entertaining, good version of that show. And then at the end, it stops giving a fuck about the plot, and it's just trying to get into the character psychology, and any semblance of real closure is kind of lost, as it's just trying to actually like break down the psychology of the characters and almost like the sort of like the genre fixtures. And Tarantino, I feel like he does a similar thing, except he still gives you the satisfaction, right? And I feel like all these guys, they're playing with the genre, and then they're thinking about like what the genre means and what the genre, the traditional narratives of the genre stories are trying to impart. And I feel like with the Coens, they tell you this traditional genre story, then they think about it, and then they're like, but this is how we think it would actually go, and this is how we think the world actually like it reflects and stuff. Tarantino, he also likes to sort of play with it, but ultimately he still likes to give people the climax they want. If you look at it through the lens of like it being a bunch of guys who are like intuitively familiar with genre and then trying to impart their own philosophy over it, I feel like there's a bit more clarity there. Could probably talk about this for another hour. Honestly, this is a movie I clearly
Didn't you
think
say
about a
this was
lot,
your
but,
favorite film of all time? Or one of?
it probably is. Like I rotate it out every once in a while. Like if you check my letterbox, it's not in my top 4 right now, but like it's still top 10. It's still consistently in my top 10 for at least a solid like let's say 5 years at least. It's been consistently in my top 10. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything.
I think I'll just wrap it up now. Yeah.
Sort of recommends all around. Well, obviously, Red
Yeah.
recommends this. I think this has kind of let me come to terms with the fact that, well, Coen Brothers films aren't necessarily for me. I don't hate them, not in the slightest. It's just they subverge expectations to a point where I don't really understand what I'm watching. I had this experience with Big Lebowski because I saw that recently too, and I just couldn't get it.
You will like 2/3 of the movie, and then 1/3 of it will just leave you so baffled you don't know what to take of it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Lugia. Thinking back to what I've seen of the Coen brothers, I like their movies like up to a certain point or certain scenes, but the only one I've liked all the way through was Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
I've warmed up to
Yeah.
Burn After Reading since we did that episode. I really like that movie a lot now, but that's sort of the exception rather than the rule.
I'm definitely gonna still recommend Coen Brother movies in the future. But next time I will pick one of the ones that has a satisfying ending and won't throw you guys for a loop.
I liked 90% of No Country for Old Men. I think that's gotta mean something.
That's an A-, which which is too fucking low. All right. All right.
Yes,
Well, wait, what would you
this-
give? You give it like an A? Would you give it an A if A- is too low?
I would give it a B.
Okay.
All right. Patty, it's your turn to recommend now.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and I may come to regret this, but I've
Oh.
thought about this for a while. I'm going for it. So, this is a pretty popular movie, and I know for a fact that at least 2 of us haven't seen it. Thing is, I personally don't think I'm going to like this movie, but I at least want to say that I've seen one of them. So, I don't know, have a barf bag on standby maybe? I don't know. We're heading back into the realm of horror with the very first Saw movie.
Oh, okay.
I've seen this. Yeah.
I've never seen any of the Saw films, but just the 1st
I've-
one, right?
Just the
I've
first
only
one.
seen the first one.
All right, because I've had friends who did watch them, and they said you should probably only just watch the first film because the sequels just aren't good in general.
I don't actually hate the other sequels, because they're really funny. Like they're good so bad they're good movies. They're just not good movies.
So, what sparked this, Patty?
I've been more open to experiencing horror, and like Saw is like a franchise that like I always knew about, but like just the concept of it like terrified me. I just want to say I've at least seen one of them, and you know this is the one that I hear is the best one, so we'll see what happens.
All right.
So this is kind of just like a so I can say I've done it type of thing.
You go into the terrifying King Dakar roller coaster, and you get a shirt proving that you did so.
Yeah. Like I'm cool with horror. I don't like torture or bodily horror, and I know that Saw is basically nothing but that, so
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever
the first one
happens,
has.
whatever
The first one
happens,
does have
just
a ton.
remember you brought this on yourself.
I know. That's why
The
I
first-
may live to regret this, but I at least want to be brave enough to say I tried.
The first one doesn't have it a ton, so I think you'll be fine. But first one's more of like a drama. But yeah. I don't know how you want to end this. If you want to just give the Sheriff Bell monologue, I don't know.
I don't know the monologue, but I'll do the coin thing. All right, friendo. Heads or tails? Call it.
Tails.
Well done.
Oh fuck.
Oh.
I was gonna say, oh fuck heads. That means we have to keep recording.
All right, I'm gonna stop here.